Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 122. Today is July 26th, 2024. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Thanks so much for joining me. Those of you who are new, a special welcome. Those of you who are returning, you know that it's been 3 weeks since I made a video. And in that time, I had my cataract surgery, which I'll talk about later. And here I am back. I was kind of surprised that I had as much stitching to show as I do, but I do. Well, so Flosstube means cross stitch, and variety show means other things, and we'll see what those are in a little while. So in the last 3 weeks, we did have a third weekend of the month where I've been working on this Christmas themed piece called Bethlehem. There's a hashtag, which I sometimes remember to post to, and Leslie and Teresa, I think, are participating, and you can participate too. The hashtag is Nativity Sal, and you can put any, the idea is we're working on Christmas themed pieces on the third weekend of every month throughout the year, so that we have Christmas themed pieces done by the end of the year and not be scrambling. So this is where I am on this. You can see that I'm almost at the stable. In fact, the very next vertical line I do will be the stable. And you know, one of the reasons I like doing floss tubes is because I see the stitching I'm doing from a greater distance. This looks so fantastic from the normal distance of viewing. You know, when I'm working on it and I'm 8 inches from it, it's way different, but I'm enjoying that. I have few enough stitches left that I possibly could finish it on the next third weekend of the month if I stitch much that weekend. We'll see what ends up happening, but that I am enjoying. The other weekend only thing I have is Blackbird Design Weekend Stitch Along, BBD Weekend Sal, which was started 2 or 3 years ago by Laura and Brenda of Brenda and the Serial Starter. And I'm working from this book, Winds of Autumn, on Mighty Acorn, right there. And that weekend is the first weekend of every month. So I did this, I worked on this, and I got a lot done. My hope was to get to the point where I would have a lot of fill-in, which I don't quite. I mean, those leaves, I've done the outlines of those leaves up there, but there are veins in the leaves, and I was waiting for a certain color to come, which finally came, so that enabled me to get going. I now also did, I think I had not fully finished this part, and maybe he still doesn't have his acorn. I'm not sure what's going on there. But I definitely worked on that upper branch. So we'll see. The first weekend of the month is next weekend, so I won't show it on my next video, assuming I do a video next week, but I'll show it on the following video. So after cataract surgery, I took a full, so my first cataract surgery was July 9th, and and then the next one was the 17th, so 8 days later. And I took all that week off. I didn't even try to stitch. I realized along about Saturday or Sunday after the first surgery, I probably could have stitched, but I had sort of planned other things to do, knitting and in the sewing room, and so I decided I wasn't going to try stitching because I would just distract myself from my other plans. And then I had the second cataract surgery, and the following weekend, again, I thought, I think I can stitch, so I thought, what would I like to pull out to try? And I decided Harriet Salt was going to get my vote. And this is, of course, by Hands Across the Sea. It's gigantic. It is 413 by 414 stitches. And I just started it in June. And I showed it, you know, it's so large that it feels like I don't make a lot of progress, but I'm pretty sure that I've done 4 or 5 letters in this top row, and then the Y and the Z and the little doodad following the Z, and that curlicue is the beginning of the A. I just finished my thread. And so, you know, it is what it is. I'm not in a rush to finish it. And I will say the letters are very close together, and so I am carrying my thread between letters, and I'm not going to worry about it. I'm pretty sure that Harriet Salt carried her thread between letters. I mean, I haven't seen the back, but I imagine that she did. I also had not stitched on this for a while, including over the last few weeks, but I pulled it out a couple days ago, under the roof of blue Ionian weather. And having taken 3 weeks off from it, I probably have endangered my ability to do the number of stitches I planned this year, but we'll see. But I haven't done very many stitches really since I last showed it, but I thought I would show it because now these stitches over here, there's 1 stitch more before that border is reached, that edge is reached. So this is the size of it from side to side, and there's the size from top to bottom. So it's, you know, coming. It is by percentage, it is 65.8%. So essentially 2 percentage points. And I think that's only about 400 stitches since I last showed it, so that's no real big deal, is it? Simone Smalls. I met Simone. She was a presenter at the Great British Sampler Weekend, and I bought this book after the fact to commemorate meeting her. So many nice little projects in here. And I decided to start with a Biscornu because I've wanted to make one, and it's small. And so this is my progress. Now the top, so it calls for 32 count linen, which it didn't really register with me that I couldn't necessarily just do whatever I wanted, but I am doing whatever I wanted because we do, don't we? But this is 37 count Russian tea cake by Legacy Linen. This is what I'm doing Harriet Salt on. This was a piece I took off across the bottom and realized, oh, this is the right size. And so she calls for the top to be done with 2 threads and the bottom to be done with 1 thread. And I realized that on 37 count, which is just more than 36 count, it is a little tight with 2 threads, but one of the points is the contrast. And also, again, another reason I like looking at these, I think you can maybe see the small amount of variegation in that thread. This is called Another 11 Points, I think, by Roxy Flosstube. And I think it's a beautiful red. It's very similar, really, to the 321, which I don't have handy to touch, but similar. The pieces in this book call for a red and a blue. So at some point, if I decide to do one that has both colors in it, I'll select a blue that goes with this thread. I have 1 skein of that thread, and I have some other threads that are related to it. I bought a group of red threads from Roxy Flosstube. And I didn't get out the picture for this, but I'm going to show you this. And you've seen it enough, and it's enough done that you can see what it's going to be. This is sampler 193 by 2x2 Stitch Art. This is 777, DMC 777, 2 strands over 1 Aida square. So I pulled this out last night, not having worked on it in over a month. Not related to cataract surgery, just because I had not worked on it. And I thought, I was watching something on television, I think, or maybe I was watching a Flosstube on my computer, and I thought, I just wonder if I could stitch this. And so I started stitching it without magnification, and I could do it. So 16 count Aida, that suggests that 32 count linen, I might be able to do that. The fact that the holes are distinct is a real help. And as I'm sitting here looking at it, I think, wow, I did that. Just last night I did that. But I did. And I did not feel, I don't feel now that it's crazy. And I look at it in the clear light of day, and I look at the back, and it's the same. I don't think that you'd be able to tell. And that is an amazing result right there from cataract surgery. And so I'm going to tell you more about my cataract surgery experience. I didn't really, who wants to have surgery? I want it to be perfect. I want my body to last in perfect state until the Lord's return, so that I never suffer even one moment of anxiety about my health or discomfort about my body, which is not very realistic. It's not a realistic hope. And of course, I'm not really joking. That is really what I want, but it's what everyone wants, I think. So here I am, and I had agreed to have cataract surgery. I agreed that that was the solution, and so I went in there, and it was like nothing. I mean, I had said beforehand, in my last video probably, that I'm planning my life as if I'm getting my hair cut, and that was practically as little effect as it had. I do have an ongoing regimen of, I was going to say ear drops. No, eye drops 4 times a day, which will go on another 3 weeks or so, a little more, maybe 3 weeks in a day or something like that. I have, I had to sleep with a clear eye shield over the most recently operated eye for 1 week, which I thought, oh, that's going to be a nuisance. That is going to be totally mess me up. And it did not mess me up at all. I had no difficulty sleeping with it. A clear, hard plastic eye shield taped on with paper tape. No problem at all with that. I didn't have any pain to speak of. I did take Tylenol. And I think really, probably the thing that was sore was my eyelid, not my eye. So it's been absolutely a non-event. And I wasn't allowed to bend down with my head lower than my waist or pick up anything heavier than 10 pounds for a week after each surgery, which meant that I had to ask for help for things. And it was funny, I discovered how many things I drop on the floor as soon as I could not be the one to pick them up, because I had to get my husband to come in and pick things up off the floor for me. So, but, not an issue. And speaking of picking things up off the floor, I dropped a few things and realized I could get tongs from the drawer and I could pick them up. But when I dropped one of my my knitting needle, my sewing together needle for some knitting that I was finishing up, I could not pick that up with tongs. So I had to get my husband to come, but it was fine. Now here's the most remarkable thing, and I had been told to expect this, but being told to expect it and experiencing it yourself are 2 different things. So I had the first eye done, and immediately, while I was in the recovery room at the hospital, I could tell that my new eye, as I call it, was seeing brighter and purer colors than my old eye. And I would sit there like this and I'd say, wow, it's so bright, it's so fresh. And then I would cover it and look at my old eye. Oh my goodness, there's such a yellowish cast. And so if they had said, we can do both your eyes at once, which they didn't, and I don't think they maybe ever do that, for reasons that are wise reasons. But if they had said that, I'm glad that they didn't do it in my case, because I could fully appreciate the difference that it was making to my vision. And I think, and now that I have both eyes done, even now I'm beginning to forget that. So I'm glad that at least for a week I had the ability to experiment with that and appreciate it. It just shows the what modern technology and medical advances and ophthalmology has been able to do for us. It was remarkable. That was the most remarkable thing. And even now, I mean, I do still remember and notice that the room feels bright. I mean, there's plenty of light in here. For the last year or two, I've been feeling like it's dim. This room is dim, and this room has lots of lights in it. Why is this room so dim? But now I feel like, okay, it's not dim. It was me, and now now I can see it. So anyway, a non-event. If you are have been told you have cataracts and you would benefit from having the cataract surgery, just go for it. I highly recommend it. Now, I am in that period of time that I predicted when this is my old prescription. It doesn't work for near vision, really. I can see pretty well distance without glasses. For instance, I can watch TV easily. I can drive without glasses. Now, my driver's license doesn't say it, but I can. Near work, I can't read. I can't see up close without glasses, which I knew was going to be true. So what I did was I ordered a bunch of half glasses, reading glasses, because I want to watch the Olympics, which are about to start. In fact, they've already started. And so that's what these are, where I can look down and look at what I'm working on, and then look up above them to see the TV. And I think they are going to work fine, pretty well, I should say, for watching TV. I'm looking that way because that's where our TV is. And the Olympics, the opening ceremony coverage has already started. In fact, it started an hour ago. So these are kind of dorky looking glasses, but they work. These are 2.5 magnification. They came with these narrow little cases that, with some care, I can get the glasses into. Well, I could do it like that. I mean, I can get the whole glasses in there. 4 pairs for $20. I figured that was worth the experiment. And they came with, so each glasses has a case. And I thought they came with 6 cases, but they came with these little cleaning cloths also. Now, I don't think that I'm going to be wearing those long term. I imagine that I will just get new prescription because I still have astigmatism, which these don't correct. And it's funny, I can't see myself in the view, in the camera as well. So I think I'll put these back on, even though they're not exactly right, but I see myself better. You know, our eyes are so interesting. Our brains make up for so much deficiency in our vision for so long, but it can't do forever. So anyway, so what else have I been doing? Because there was 10 days there when I didn't stitch, and I will tell you that I did not just sit here at the table quietly, not stitching. I did a lot of Sudoku. I worked on a project for my favorite Sudoku YouTube channel, Cracking the Cryptic, and that's an ongoing project, so I'm still working on that. I knitted. I finished this. This is a scarf. It's a wide scarf, shawlish, you know, and there are many mistakes in it, many holes in it. If I hold it up in just the right way, you'll see. Because I worked on it in different lighting and too fast, and while I was watching TV, and then several rows later, like many rows later, I would notice that there was a mistake, and I decided not to go back and fix it. But for the most part, it's fine. it certainly is fine. It has a wonderful drape and feel to it. It's wool and silk, and it's a lace weight yarn by Cascade Yarns, and it's soft and has this beautiful drape. It's just garter stitch because that was easy. It didn't require any thought, and the times that I knew I wanted to work on it would be times that I couldn't. Either I knew I wouldn't be able to see it well, or I wouldn't be able to concentrate and count the way my other knitting project is, which I showed you recently, and it hasn't changed. I mean, it's longer. So I did work on this, finished it. I worked on that other one, the purpley variegated one that has that weird olive green in it. Hopefully that will grow on me before the whole thing is done. So this was fun to work on, and it was satisfying. It satisfied my need to have something to do with my hands, and it suited my situation very well. I also made braid, not braid, I made cording. So at least one of my faithful viewers is going to be at the Jane Boyer stitching day in October in Leroy, New York. And one of the projects has cording, and so I made cording for the little kits. And this was very fun. I used, this is 5 strands of DMC, 815, I believe. And each cording is basically most of a skein of yarn. It lacks about 16 inches or so of the full skein. And I used the Kreinik quarter, custom quarter machine or crank thing. I'm sure you've seen this. And I used the Vonna Pfeiffer video on how to do it. And it's interesting because one of the things that she shows in the video is that her husband rigged up a little cup hook for her to attach the other end to so that she could crank and have it stretched out. And I don't have a cup hook. I don't have a place I would want to screw in a cup hook. But what was I going to do? Because I wanted to make 50 cords. And so what I did is I went into our picture hanging kit and I got a little nail. And I discovered that I could put the nail in the hinge of the pantry door. And if I closed the door, it was snug enough so that this didn't shift, but loose enough so it didn't make the door weird, you know, didn't damage the door. And, but that meant that the head of the nail was sticking up. And so my husband sawed the head off and filed it a little bit so it won't cut you. But I actually put it in this way in the hinge. So I would stick this in the hinge and I'd say, no, the pantry door has a nail in the hinge. And then I would make some cording, and then I would hopefully remember to retrieve the nail. And if I didn't, it would fall on the floor and I could not pick it up with tongs. And so he had to pick it up. But, you know, this little gizmo is really an excellent little tool. And while I was at it, so these are made a certain length to go with that project. I thought, I wonder what else I can do. So I had some floss lying around, and so these were practice ones in this DMC 921, I think. I don't know if that's focusing, maybe. This is a little not quite as tight as it should be, but I could pretty easily fix it up. I made some black. I have something that I might put black on to frame it. And I decided I would make some, I think 712 is this number. It's like a creamy direction of ecru. And then I thought, well, let me just see what narrower two color makes. So this is, so that, the first one I showed you was 5 strands. This is essentially 4 strands, maybe 2 strands. I'm not sure how to do the calculation. I think it's essentially 2 strands because it was 2 strands of each of the cream and the green, but then you link them together so that you twist them together, but then when you fold it so that they twist around each other, you have to watch the video to see what I'm trying to say. But this is nice. And I have more of all this, and I have lots of floss. So I will probably make more cording. I have some things upstairs that I want to finish into little pillows. And it's very fun to do this. So anyway, Leslie, I'm going to put this in the mail to you sometime soon so that all of our kit stuff can be at your house. And there, as I say, there was thread left over, and so I made, what did I do with that? I decided to practice making little pom-poms. So here's a pom-pom. Tassels. So Cindy has taken to cross-stitch the way a duck takes to water. Again, she used to cross-stitch, so it isn't as if she's new at it. But she made a Biscornu. And she said, I'm going to go and buy a tassel. And I said, don't buy a tassel. I'll make you a tassel. So she told me what color, and I made her a tassel. And maybe at our next Galloping Horse video, I'll show you. I mean, she will show you. I won't show you. She will show you that little Biscornu, which is just beautiful. It was from the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine, which I should know the name of that. So anyway, I used some of the red floss to practice making the tassel. Then I made her one out of the color that she wanted. And I have more red floss left, and I think, I should do some sort of red sampler. They're varied lengths, oddly. Very odd why that would be. And they are a little shorter than I would normally work with, probably, but they're useful pieces of floss. So that's what I have been up to, and now I'll spend a few minutes telling a story that I told before in a video. I'm going to guess it was earlier, maybe it might have been in 2022, but I'm not sure when it was. But it has to do with the Olympics, because something you may not know and you may not believe is I participated in the 1980 Winter Olympics in Lake Placid, New York. And this was the symbol of the Lake Placid Olympics, and that is a representation of the tower that the ski jump goes off of. And one interesting thing is that my grandmother, my mother's mother, I wish I really remembered the facts of this. She might have competed in the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid in 1920 as a speed skater. I could look that up. I really should look that up. Not really sure. Doesn't really matter, except that Lake Placid is in New York State, and it was 70 miles from where I was going to college at Crane School of Music, Potsdam, New York. And Crane School of Music, and if you want to hear the whole story, Crane School of Music provided all of the ceremonial music for the Winter Olympics in 1980. And I was a music student there, and so I played in awards bands, and I was in the choir that sang at the opening and closing ceremonies, and there was an ecumenical service a week before the Olympics opened. And so we learned a lot of music, singing, we learned a lot of music for the choir, and we learned a lot of music in the band, all of the national anthems. And I played for Eric Heiden. Eric Heiden was a U.S. speed skater who was the favored won, and he won 5 gold medals at that Winter Olympics. I think at the time it was the most gold medals anyone had won in one Olympics in speed skating. And of course, if you win 5 gold medals in speed skating, it means that you somehow can cross over between sprinter and long distance skater. And he did that. And I happened to be assigned in the band that played for 4 of his 5 gold medals. So every time I went to play for awards ceremonies, I got to play the U.S. national anthem at least once. So that was pretty fun. But they gave each of the volunteer participants, the band, orchestra, singers, and all the many, many volunteers, they gave us a pewter medal. This is a replica of the medals that were given to the athletes, gold, silver, and bronze, but in pewter. And it says on the back, the Olympic pledge. In the name of all competitors, I promise that we shall take part in these Olympic Games, respecting and abiding by the rules which govern them, in the true spirit of sportsmanship, for the glory of sport and the honor of our teams. And this is the pledge that is still pledged. This is the one that was made up when the modern Olympics started up in 1896, I think, was it? Anyway, this is one of my possessions that I prize. I loved the Olympics before then. And that, of course, made me love Olympics even more. Just things have changed about the Olympics since then. There's a lot more professional athletes in the big sports. There are still non-professional athletes or amateurs in some of the side sports. One of the things that's interesting about curling, for example, in the Winter Olympics, is that most of the curling competitors, if not all of them, are bartenders or teachers or whatever. You know, they have jobs. Now, interestingly, so one sport I don't watch. I don't tend to watch the fighting sports, judo and karate and wrestling and boxing, because I don't understand them, and they're not, they're traditional, especially boxing, I think, and wrestling. Of course, wrestling was traditional back into the Greco-Roman, the very original Olympics. But they're not things that I ever have been interested in or know much about. I haven't known wrestlers or boxers. But this year, our church, we blessed and sent off a man, Ethan Ramos maybe, who's from Puerto Rico, and he is competing for Puerto Rico as a wrestler. So I will definitely be trying to follow the wrestling in his weight class, which is 86 kilos or something. And I think it's next week. Might be the 7th or 8th of August is when he's competing. And so, anyway, that is really fun to actually know somebody in the Olympics. And I hope their family will have a fantastic time in France. I know another friend of mine is in France today for rugby, to watch rugby, and he and his wife are going back later in the Olympics to see beach volleyball at the Eiffel Tower, which is a fascinating idea. And as I say, the opening ceremonies are going on. As I'm recording, I don't have them on. We are recording them, and I'm going to start watching them as soon as I'm done with this video. And from that point on, I have planned out, what handwork can I do during the Olympics? What am I going to accomplish? Because there's a lot of downtime that I'm not interested in. And sometimes you can fast forward through it if it's being recorded, but sometimes you might miss something if you jump ahead too much. So I just want to make sure I have plenty of things to do that will propel my projects forward while I'm watching. you can count on me watching equestrian if it's on, because that is one of my favorite Olympic sports. And I have a lot of things queued up to be recorded. Swimming and gymnastics, of course. So anyway, it's a great time of year, isn't it? Summer, we love summer, don't we? We love it. I hope that everything will go well in Paris and there won't be any issues and safety or security issues. I hope that the games will be fair and there won't be cheating or injuries, that it will all be as great as it can be. In particular, I hope horses who love to do what they're doing, or they wouldn't be able to do it at the athletic level that they can. But nonetheless, they do it because they love and trust their riders. I hope that no horses are injured. So that's enough for me today. I'm glad to be back. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found something of interest. I don't know if I'll make a video next week. I might. My friend's visit is a little bit up in the air as to timing, so if she doesn't come, I almost certainly will make a video. And if she does come, I possibly won't, because I won't have done much cross-stitching. So we'll see. Please play the next few weeks by ear with me. And I hope that if you subscribe and click the little notifications bell, at least you'll be notified if I post a video. So that if it's not on a Friday or it skips a week or something, you won't entirely miss it. So anyway, that's enough from me. Thanks so much for watching, and many blessings to you, friends.